For over 40 years, nearly 150,000 customers and over 30,000 channel partners spanning the globe have trusted ArcServe to strengthen their data resilience, recover lost assets, and ensure business continuity. With a unified approach to data protection and recovery, world-class technical support, and the lowest total cost of ownership, ArcServe helps businesses manage, defend, and most importantly, recover their data from any situation. Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Massey. I'm the VP of Sales for the Americas for ArcServe. Welcome to it's a hearty welcome to everyone to our latest installment of Beyond the Arc, where we are really talking about becoming more cyber confident, right? And there's lots of things that are out there that certainly can affect our businesses, but we want to get more confidence in our cybersecurity. We want to get more confident in our data resilience to be able to do that. With As I've said in previous sessions with Beyond the Arc, this is not any type of sales pitch, but rather really we focus in on discussions on topics of the day that and its effects that it has on our partners and our customers. So let's go ahead and jump in. So when we think about how to become more cyber confident as business leaders, it really, for me, it comes down to one thing. It comes down to preparation, right? We need to make sure that we are prepared, and we need to be prepared in any type of situation that's there. And the first thing about preparation is knowing what the risks are, right? And it's knowing, certainly, and I know ransomware, we've talked about ransomware on almost every session, right? But ransomware, very prevalent out in the world, right? So we know that certainly is a risk. And we could talk about ransomware all day, every day, certainly on that. And however, I want to call to attention, recently I read a report by Statista, and a couple things that are interesting about that report. Number one, they identified the professional services industry as being the most targeted, or I should say, the most frequently impacted by ransomware, right? As we're looking through that, and when they're looking at the State of Ransomware report, 2024 report, found that 59% of organizations were hit by ransomware. Okay. And that's probably tracks. I mean, everyone, it's the percentages are going high. We're seeing folks being targeted. We know that certainly, with this report, professional services industry is targeted, but we also know that there's been some high visibility healthcare institutions, educational institutions, government institutions, all have been targeted. But what's actually a little bit concerning, or actually what stings a bit, is that while that State of Ransomware 2024 report identifies that 59% of folks were hit by ransomware, 64% of businesses and professional services organizations were compromised by cyber events this previous year, right? So we've got this high percentage of folks being hit, but we're also seeing a recurring level of folks that are being re-attacked. They're retargeted towards attacks, and so that's really kind of scary when we think about that. So it's really hard. So we know, the risks out there, certainly ransomware, cybersecurity. We also know all of the environmental risks: the fire, the flood, the tornado, the tsunami, the earthquake, right? Those different types of environmental risks that can be out there. One thing I'd like to include is we need to be thinking also about, what do we outsource in our businesses, right? And who do we outsource to, and what kind of protections do they have? So this week, Blue Yonder was compromised by ransomware. They had a ransomware attack, and that Blue Yonder was a third-party supply chain company, software supply chain company, that Blue Yonder cyber event impacted Starbucks and the way that they can do business. And and you think about that, and it's really fairly scary because it's not just, hey, what's in within the walls of my business, right? We need to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that we have our plans and our testing and all that good stuff within the walls of our business. But also now we need to make sure that we're extending out to the businesses that we use, that we outsource to, or we outsource specific tasks to. And that could, certainly, that could be, there's POS, we've got our productivity suites, with Google Workplace and Microsoft. We've got, certainly a lot of times HR programs, expense report programs. All of those different types of aspects are could be at risk, right? Those could be at risk, and we need to make sure that we're talking to those companies, right, to those organizations, and asking for their proof for their business continuity and their disaster recovery, because you wouldn't want an event that isn't even in your control that all of a sudden impacts your business as such that puts your business at risk of going out of business, right? We want to make sure that we're doing that. So third-party outsourcing, if you haven't looked at what they're doing, it's going to be really important that you dig into that and see, okay, if they were to have an event, what kind of impact would that happen to our company? And then you're talking certainly to those companies and seeing what you're able to do to mitigate those. And a few months ago, we at ArcServe commissioned an independent research, really a survey that, part of the survey talked about the vast majority of businesses identify and agree that proprietary data is either moderately or extremely critical to the company's success, right? And when we say a vast majority, that's 97%. That's what our survey found. Now, what that the next question that I would ask is, when we think about the proprietary data, moderately or extremely critical to company success, if you don't have that data, if that data is unavailable to you for a period of time, for days, hours, days, weeks, or a month, at what point in time does that put your company at risk? So we need to make sure that we're looking at all the different risks, right? And there are risks out there that we don't even know about, right? Just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean that it won't happen. And we want to make sure that we are preparing ourselves in all methods, right? We're developing our business continuity and our disaster recovery plan for certainly all the known risks. And in that, we are also making sure that we have maybe a modular approach that says, okay, here's what we'd be able to do, even if something that we don't even know about happens, right? We want to make sure ultimately the end result is we want to make sure that we're able to recover. So knowing the risk is the first step, right? In order to instill cyber confidence. But the second step is to develop the plan. And of course, we need executive buy-in in order to develop the plans. We need to, and I'm not really, it's not fundamentally me to go in and do scare tactics to people, but really executives for your companies or ownership needs to really know what is at risk, and that, sometimes, I mean, we know that business continuity and disaster recovery and developing really infrastructure that is very friendly to business continuity and disaster recovery, there is certainly a price tag to that. But the risk of not doing it is more severe, because it actually then could actually put the company at risk of going out of business. So executive buy-in is very, very important. And then as I said just a few minutes ago, we are looking at, when we're developing that plan, that disaster plan, that business continuity plan, we're developing it in a way that is addressing, the holistically, it's a holistic approach towards really protection from events and the risks that are happen to be out there, both known and both unknown, right? And we want to make sure that we're doing it. So once we have that plan, right, then of course we need to make sure that the plan works. And we certainly need to test. That's usually my mantra. People will ask me all the time. They say, Sean, how often should I test? Well, my first answer is as often as you can, right? Because you want to make sure that you're able to test. But when we're testing, certainly think about, ArcServe is in the data resilience space, and data resilience, part of data resilience is data protection. So you want to make sure that your backups are working, that data protection is working. So can you restore files? Can you restore databases, right? Can you restore folders? And how long does that take to do those restores, right? But also, part of testing is, another pillar of data resilience is ransomware recovery, right? How we need to test that ransomware. So not that you're actually deploying ransomware in your environments, you don't want to do that, but you can simulate that and say, okay, everything has been encrypted. Okay, we need to restore. How long does it take to restore? Are we able to? Is all the data back in its integrity? And does this fit in to our recovery time objective, right? And our recovery point objective, right? Being able to go back, and most importantly, the maximum tolerable downtime, right? So when we have those three different benchmarks of being able to do that, when we do our testing, we're measuring that up to that, right? To make sure that we're going through there. And finally, we want to make sure that we are testing that business continuity piece, right? So if we have something that we weren't expecting, that's going to be really important. So just real quick story, I was looking for um, a new show to kind of binge, right? I was kind of gone through the some of the shows that I was streaming, and in a couple weeks ago, I'd always wanted to. I thought 911 show was interesting, so I thought hey, I'll give that a shot. So I'm watching 911. That's the current show that I'm binging right now, um, and there was an episode recently that I saw, and don't worry, I'm not no spoilers here. I won't do it, but I'll give you kind of general sense. I think it was in the second season where the 911 operation center had a system-wide outage. They didn't know whether the outage was cyber security or whether it was just kind of some type of a fluky thing. But what my point of telling you the story is that folks immediately went into the mode of, okay, hey, we know your computers aren't working, we know you don't have your headsets that are plugged in and that where you can completely patch in to everything. We're handing out radios, walkie talkies, and we've got landline phones that are going to be working, and everything. So that is how this 911 system center was actually constructed for them to get through the outage. And I know that this is art and it's not real, and I know we talk about life imitates art sometimes, and art imitates life often, as we do that. And that is really the case. The takeaway here is they obviously had a business continuity plan. They obviously had um, the steps that they did in case they didn't have access to the tools that they needed in order to do their job. They had a backup plan, right? Now, what you didn't see in that construct, and I know it's only 40 minutes, so I'm sure you didn't, but you didn't see really the testing that goes involved. That is something that would need to be tested, right? Because when you have something that impacts you, what you want is you want people to know that, oh, I'm already there. I've already done this once, right? To be able to do that. And that's why schools, everywhere have, fire drills, right? And here in the States, in Wisconsin, and a lot of other states like in the Midwest and the heart of the US, they do tornado drills. And the reason why they do that is they don't want kids screaming, ah, fire, 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 right? want a good, orderly process to make sure that everyone knows, okay, we're in a situation, a crisis situation. Everyone knows what to do next, right? And that is the purpose of making sure that we test, right? We want to make sure that we know what is going to happen next, and everyone understands that, and they understand what they need to do in order to do that. And then, when we and I've said this in other sessions and other Beyond the Arc sessions, um, if you're new to disaster recovery and business continuity, and you're getting started, and there, by the way, congratulations. There, it's great that you're coming along with that and protecting your business. Um, but if you're going to test for the first time, maybe you've had plans, but you've never tested, and you go to test, and let's say it fails miserably. That's okay for a test, right? So, excuse me. What we want to do is we want to reverse engineer that, then find out what went wrong, why it went wrong, and then you fix it, and then you test again, right? So when you fail better. Each time you feel better until you don't fail anymore. And so that's the purpose of testing. So really, as we look at, really kind of instilling confidence, it comes down to knowing all the risk that's out there. It's preparing for that risk in developing business continuity plans, disaster recovery plans. And the third piece is testing. And it's not just testing the individual functions of the plan, but it's testing the whole plan itself. Thank you very much for attending. Protect what's priceless, and remember that data resilience doesn't just happen.